Hello, 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 my loves out there. Welcome to What We Say You Talk Show, where if you didn't know, now you know. I'm your host, Lady K, and today we have our Father's Day special. Today we have such an awesome man, a loving father, and an awesome friend to many. So without any further ado, allow me to introduce Boston's College All-American Class of 2009 Hall of Famer, entrepreneur, author, motivational speaker, producer, and one of the Jacksonville Jaguars' original linebackers. But most importantly, an amazing and loving father to three beautiful, talented young daughters. I introduce to you Mr. Tom McManus. Question number one. How did you feel playing in the AFC's 1996 championship game with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, like a lot of us, I had the dream of playing in the National Football League ever since I was a young boy growing outside of Chicago, Illinois. Youngest of four in my family, and had two older brothers. So, some people would say, well, you were born into a tough family, and they made you tough, and I think that's absolutely true. But ever since a young age, I wanted to play football. That was my goal. That was my dream. When I was 15 years old, my father had come to me and said, look, I can't send you to college. I don't have the money to do so, but I believe you have enough talent, and if you work hard enough, you could make it to college and maybe get a scholarship. Wasn't talking any big school or anything, just in general. And from that point on, I knew what my job was and what it would take, so I dove right into it. Always worked on my fitness, on my strength, on my quickness. Eventually got a full ride scholarship to Boston College. Had a couple ups and downs throughout there, but my last 2 years really thrived. Was a third-team All-American, first-team All-Conference 2 years in a row. Really proved myself that I could play at that level, and wanted to go to the NFL and thought that was my next step. And unfortunately, I was not drafted. I went undrafted in the 1993 draft, although the New Orleans Saints gave me a chance to try out, which I did. Went to training camp with them in 93 and ended up getting cut. It was the first time that I did not make a team ever in my entire life, whether that was basketball, football, baseball, what have you. So that was pretty devastating. I spent 2 years out of football, 93 and 94, before Tom Coughlin, the new coach of the Jaguars, had reached out to me out of the clear blue sky and asked if I wanted to give football one more chance. It was my third try, and absolutely I said, and moved down to Florida. I was living in Boston at the time. My parents were living in New Smyrna Beach, and I went down there to train for my workout up here in Jacksonville. Had about 2 months to get into shape, and my father was there every step of the way throughout workouts, et cetera, et cetera. But I ended up making the team. To cut this story a little bit shorter, but ended up making it as a total long shot out of football for 2 years. I always believed I belonged. I always believed I could do it. I just needed that opportunity to be able to prove myself, which we all go through in life. So hopefully people listening to this will get that opportunity. But in 1995, I made the team and had a great time here in Jacksonville. Although our team was 4-12, it didn't matter to me because I was living the dream that I so desperately wanted my entire life. It wasn't just for me, though. It was for my family. And my family, my brothers, my sister, my mom and dad, and we'd have a great time. Home games where they would all come to the game. We'd go back to the beach to where I was living with Pete Mitchell, my teammate, and his family would be there. We'd have these big parties and get-togethers, and it really was for all of us, And I felt a lot of pride to be able to do that. And that year, later that year, my father died of cancer. Took him in 1 month of diagnosis. He died December 31st, 1995 in the morning. So that next year, with the Jags, 1996, was a very emotional year. It was almost like a dream that he wasn't around because the cancer took him so quick. He was my best friend when he died. And it was a very sad time for me, but I knew I had a job to do again. He would never sit there and say, hey, feel sorry for yourself because your father's gone. He would say, get off your butt and let's get back to work. You have a job to do and you got to go make that team, which I did. Not only wanting to play in the NFL, but wanting to be a starter in the NFL was a dream. I didn't start a whole lot my first year. The second year I made the team as a backup. Played some significant roles, but was not a full-fledged starter. And in week 4, against the Patriots, right before halftime, the starter got hurt. And I was put into the defense as a middle linebacker. You're the quarterback of the defense, and ended up starting that entire year. I had a really good year, and of course we made it to the playoffs. So we got to that '96 AFC Championship game, and it was incredible. It was, I don't even know if I can put it into words. Here I am, 2 years removed from being a bartender in Chicago. That's what I did after I got cut by the Saints, and here I am, one game away from starting in the Super Bowl. One of the best moments of that, not only playing in the game, but the night before the game, my older brother Mike flew into New England to watch the game, and we went to dinner, and he gave me a letter, and in that letter it wrote, "Just think, Tom, because he was a football player too, we always had the dream together, and he's like, just think, one more game, and Dad will have the best seat in the house watching you, from heaven." And it was an incredible, I could have played the game right then and there, but it was a very emotional year. It was a spectacular year. It was a year that went through a lot of ups and downs, of course, with that great loss of my dad. But at the end, I had a lot of pride, and it was a special time in my life. I'll never forget it, and he was very instrumental. And to be able to play in that big of a game, that big of a spectacle, it was just absolutely incredible. Although what comes with that is we lost in that game. So every year at the Super Bowl, I get a little tense because I always think we were one game away from making it to the Super Bowl.
After the championship and you sustained your foot injury, which ended your career, how did that make you feel?
When I hurt my foot in 1999, it was the second major injury that I had in my career. I tore my ACL in '97 in my right knee and sat out that year and came back in '98. And then got hurt again in 1999 with the foot. It was on the last play, the second game of that year in 1999, a year in which we went 14-2 and almost back to the Super Bowl. But I was on injured reserve that whole time. I really didn't think my career was over when it happened. I thought, okay, here we go again. I'm just going to have to, tough it out and suck it up and get back on that football field. But unbeknownst to me at that time, that was my last football game that I ever played in the NFL. So, that was pretty tough. But there's a silver lining because that summer I met my wife, Christina, my future wife. And because I was hurt, this is a really funny story. So her parents, she lived with her mom and dad, which I loved, about 4 blocks away from where I lived. And I'd never really met her before. I'd seen her here and there, but I never really knew her or had met her or whatnot. So we just started dating before the season, and I can tell that story later. But so when I got hurt, her dad was a big fan of mine, and he said, "Listen, because it was my right foot, I couldn't drive, I couldn't do anything. I was in a cast for 8 weeks. I was pitiful, And by the way, I always kind of giggle when I see these people on those riding things. Where are the crutches? Bring the freaking crutches back. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Give me a bunch of babies. We are such a wussified society. Don't even get me started on that. But, so I'm on crutches for 8 weeks. Can't really do anything. Just a sap. And my future father-in-law tells his daughter, Christina, you go over there and you take care of him. You make sure that, you help him out. Do what you can, this and that. And anyway, so after I got healed, because we spent every moment together, which was fantastic. After I got healed, he asked me, he's like, "Tom, are you gonna send her home?" And I said, No, it's over, Dan. She's gonna be mine forever. And that's when I asked him for his her hand in marriage and got his blessing. But so there was a silver lining, and still even then, I thought I was going to continue to play. But you know what? Like in life, things don't work out sometimes the way we want them to. So I look at it as, some people may say, well, you only played 5 years. I say, well, wait a minute. I not only played 5 years and realized a dream, I met my wife because of it, and I have 3 daughters because of it. So what's greater than that? Other than the love of God? Nothing. So although it was a devastating time in my life, it's like anything else. Things happen. How you rebound from them is what makes you, man or woman, it doesn't matter. But that's what gives you mettle.
Tell us about your present and future projects.
Yeah, so after my football career was over, I had even greater responsibilities. I had a new wife. My wife and I, Christina, we got engaged after 4 months of dating. Just celebrated our 14th year this past April, so very proud of that. And so I had to get to work. I had to figure it out. You know, it's funny. I could hear my father say, "All right, well, it's time to get a job. You know, it sucks. Your career's over, but now get a job and let's get to work." So I had to figure it out. What I did was I did commercial real estate for 2 years. Liked it, didn't love it. Launched a radio career, did that for about 9, 10 years. Was on the radio here locally in Jacksonville, doing a sports and life kind of show. Did a couple TV shows that I put together that I hosted. Always had a vision of being a film producer. So I have written 8 reality shows. I wrote a book, which we'll talk about. I have 3 screenplays in the marketplace right now, 2 comedies and 1 based off my book, which we're moving forward on, which is great. And I have some others in the works. So that's one of my projects that has multiple layers. I'm also in the private equity space, so I raise capital for companies that need private capital. You know, the banks have been very difficult for people and businesses for a few years now, if not longer. And there's plenty of private investor money out there all around the world looking to place those dollars. So I'm a relationship guy. I bring that opportunity to the money to the opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, I get to help people. So that's awesome. You know, I get paid to do it. So to me, I do feel it's God's work that I'm helping good people reach their dreams. You know, and whether that's a small business trying to make it big or a big business trying to make it bigger or sell or what have you. There's a lot of different variables in that. So, and I also do some motivational speaking, which I love doing. I talk about tough love, and I think that's something that needs to be brought back into our society, and not old school tough love, the new school tough love. And what does that mean? That means better communication. So, for instance, when I discipline my girls, I always explain to them afterwards why they got disciplined. Now, that didn't happen when I was growing up. My father was not, you know, granted, he was from the Great Depression. You know, you want to talk about tough times, you want to talk about hard times and everything he went through in his life, growing up in the Great Depression and fighting in the war and being a prisoner of war for 11 months in World War II. You understand what kind of life he had. So there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, why, Tommy, I did this to you or I did that to you. It was just, this is what I expect and this is what you better do. And that meant how you treated adults, how you treated teachers, coaches, parents, your friends, etc. How you were as a person. That was very, very important. So I talk about those things, and they translate to sports, business, or life. How you run a team, how you run a business, how you head a household. I think the best way is through tough love, and love being the key. Love being the key. Everyone gets, oh, tough, it's too hard. It's not too hard. That's called accountability. Everybody in this world, not country, not community, but world, should be held accountable in everything they do and everything they say. And it starts in the home. So I talk about that a lot. It starts at the top, whether it's a head coach, a CEO, or the head of a household, and it trickles down to the very last person that's in that environment. So I love talking about those things. I talk to corporations, small business. I have an anti-bullying talk for schools. Talk to sports teams, and at the end of the day, it's about looking in the mirror and getting the job done. No excuses, no quit. Don't give me all this point finger crap. Just look in the mirror and say, how can I be better? And then go about your day being better. I will say this, a real quick story about pretty much sums up my life. This past Easter, I went to Good Thursday, Holy Thursday service. Hadn't gone since I was a kid. Why did I go? My gut told me to go. During the service, during the homily, there was a priest, a Catholic priest that I only seen on occasion, didn't know him very well. But he went through his sermon, which I felt like he was speaking directly to me. God has the plan. Everyone thinks they have the plan. That's called ego. Ego stands for edging God out. Makes a lot of sense. Think about it. Who knows your life better than you? God does. And until you can really believe that and live that way, that's when you'll find peace, that's when you'll find happiness.